Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. So today we're going a long-running series, the Unported Playlist, where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time, and I'm doing a revisit on a video I did over 3 years ago. We're talking about Demon Front today, because when I say this is one of the best hidden gems in all of arcade gaming, I 100% mean it, and I feel like 9 out of 10 of people watching this video probably never played the game before. It's every bit as good as the best of Metal Slug, and it's just way more obscure. Before we get too far involved though, do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link down below as well. But I cannot stress enough just how incredibly good of a game Demon Front is, and just how lesser known it is compared to Metal Slug. And obviously this is a Metal Slug clone, because the IGS PGM felt like it was trying to be Neo Geo except for the Taiwanese market. But even though it is a clone in the gameplay and even sometimes graphically, it stands up every bit as good as the best Metal Slugs, and it's just a game you absolutely have to play. And it really shocks that this game is not better known. It's one of those titles, it definitely has retained its value and is now one of the more coveted IGS PGM carts you can get, but it emulates perfectly, and it is the type of title that you should play if you're even remotely interested in the genre. It just has so much style and so much flair, and it's just such a fun game from start to finish. And the nice part is it kind of feels like it was designed for consoles as well, because an entire playthrough of this game is going to take you about 45 minutes to an hour depending on how good you are. But I can't stress enough just how good the IGS PGM was at pushing 2D graphics. It was slightly more powerful than the Neo Geo. It had a very similar hardware setup, but it is a higher resolution, and the artists at PGM could absolutely make a sprite in a background just absolutely look incredible. These skulls in the background, twin horn here, this giant crab-shaped boss with a robot head, all of the sprites and all of the artwork are just such a vibe in this game. It's got such great world building, it's got such great sprites. It really just fires on all cylinders when it comes to it visually, and I would say that the slowdown is very minimal in this game compared to some of the Metal Slug titles on Neo Geo as well. And the best way to play this game is definitely going to be to bring a friend along for the ride. It is going to be a lot easier if you have 2 players going on at the same time. But the gameplay premise is so simple. You have your character, you have your animal buddy along for the ride, and I'll explain how to use them in just a moment, and you have multiple weapon power-ups just like you would in Metal Slug. Now that little animal friend along the ride with you, if you hold down the fire button, they will charge up and they will unleash a special attack. But you can also hold down a guard button and they will create a bubble barrier around you, allowing you to take so many hits before actually dying. If you get close enough to an enemy, you will hit them with your knife and you will see hearts pop up onto the screen, which is going to increase that overall shield. It really is a risk versus reward. Do you want to have the shield out and be able to actually take a few more hits, or do you want that animal buddy out so you can charge up that attack and knock out more health bar, especially on the bosses? It is really one of those things. This game has incredibly deep mechanics, even if it's so simple off the top. But with that background layer scrolling right now, this gigantic train in the middle, all of the different colors that you're seeing on screen, this game is just absolutely gorgeous. And that's what first drew me to it when I saw a photo of it online, probably 15-20 years ago. It looked like Metal Slug, but it looked slightly different, and it just in still images looked like something I wanted to play. So I was able to obtain a copy, and it's one of those titles, the first time I played it, I absolutely fell in love with it, and it is still one of my favorite arcade games of all time to this day. That is how incredibly good something like Demon Front is. And again, it really boggles my mind that more people don't know about this game, but it's not like the PGM was very big in the US back in the day. Maybe if you're in Asia or Taiwan, you saw one of these things. Leave me a comment down below and tell me, have you ever played Demon Front before? Have you ever seen it before? I would be genuinely curious. Maybe it's not as big of a hidden gem as I think these days, but the last time I talked about it all the way back in 2022, so many people had never even heard of the PGM before, which kind of bummed me out because it really is that good of a system. And every single level has a completely different theme, completely different graphics as far as the environment are concerned, different enemy sprites, and everything else you'd want. The game absolutely has a lot of varied content in it, and it's got a great soundtrack as well. So go ahead and listen for 45 seconds, and I'll come back and sing the praise of this game a little bit more. I mean, sure, the sound effects are definitely going to override the music there a little bit, but it has a really nice tempo vibe going on. Kind of feels like Legends of the Hidden Temple, and Olmec is going to pop out of the corner. And if you're not old enough to know that reference, then you probably won't understand it whatsoever. But I love as we get into the woods here as well, the game gets haunted. It really feels like maybe a mix of Metal Slug 2 and 3 as far as the overall theming is concerned. We don't really have zombies here. We have all of these werewolf characters running around, coming out of these gourd houses, and then we're even going to get some more horror themes. That's what I really love about Demon Front. 4 of the 5 levels that are in the game, absolutely every single one of them is completely varied as far as the graphical stylings are concerned, and every single game is absolutely gorgeous. You'll see here in the background those purples kind of falling off into the pinks with all of these browns, and even that zombie shooting that turret from below. It just 100% works, and Devil Heart here as a boss kind of feels like something that came out of a Kirby game in the most nightmare fuel way possible. It is just a haunted tree dropping eyeballs as fruit on you, and once you get to the second stage there's even going to be more going on, and the boss battles in this game are just straight up 10 out of 10s. Again, it leans heavily on the inspiration of Metal Slug that came before it, but it does such a great job. If imitation is a serious form of flattery, then this game is flattering the ever-loving hell out of something like Metal Slug. But these pitcher plants here trying to eat you as these cannons and other flowers are shooting at you, once you understand what the game asks of you and recognize the patterns, you will get good very quickly, but do expect to die a decent amount of times. But that is the fun in something like Demon Front. It is absolutely challenging, it is no hold bars running gun action, and it's incredibly fun and gorgeous to look at all at the same time. And some stages are going to be more on that horizontal plane, but other stages, as you'll see in a bit, are going to have some more verticality to them with some light platforming that does work. And if you jump and hold down the jump button, you're even going to have some wings that come out of your back that are going to allow you to glide down into that landing ever so slightly easier, which is going to make a big difference. And you'll see here on the weapon selection, we have our standard gun, we've had a multi-fire machine gun, we have an ice gun, we've even had a shotgun as well as a grenade launcher. So it kind of adheres to that same Metal Slug formula, but all of the weapons are so much fun to use. And again, having this shield mechanic where you can actually charge up that shield by knifing your opponents in front of you is also a really nice touch. And of course we get different characters in the game as well. They all seem to do basically the same thing, but there is going to be something here for everyone. And this is just why I'm always surprised something like Demon Front isn't more well known. This should be showing up on lists of best arcade games of all time all over the place, but it just doesn't seem to show up on any of them whatsoever. Even that little animation of the board breaking there, just like Metal Slug, this thing is absolutely filled to the brim with small little unique touches and details that you would barely never notice, but you can tell the developers at PGM and IGS absolutely wanted to get the most amount of charm in this game they possibly could, and they 100% nailed the brief on it, making one of my favorite arcade games of all time. But one more soundtrack sample, a little less firing here, so hopefully you can hear it a little bit better, because again, Demon Front has 10 out of 10 music. 30 seconds, so I'll be right back to show you a couple more bosses. I love this like eerie horror elements there as far as the music is concerned, and those worms that you saw shooting out of the ground is the only place in the entire game you're going to see them. They added sprites and different enemies to every single level that you're never going to see again, and in sometimes it's even only in one portion of the stage, and then they're completely gone, so you can tell the developers wanted to give as much content as possible. And while Big Claw here definitely looks like a boss from Metal Slug, you really can't fault the game for doing it. Sure, it feels a little bit like a clone, but it has cloned all of the best parts of Metal Slug and added its own unique flair in at the same time, and that flair is just every bit as good as anything else the game has to offer. So take my word for it, if you've never played Demon Front before and you're even remotely interested in this type of genre, then you have to play this game after you're done watching this video, and leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think of it. If you have played the game before, definitely let me know as well. This is just the type of game that every single retro gaming fan should know about, and it still surprises me to this day that not many people actually do. It is just one of the best arcade games of all time, and I can't recommend it enough. But that's the thing about lesser known arcade hardware, sometimes people just don't realize it exists, and the IGS PGM is an absolute winner in my book. But we're done, go play the game, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.